This here is a BMW fuel injector. Remove it and install the tool. So there's various of these available on eBay, Amazon, etc. Chose this one because it looked a bit more thorough. It was a full kit, 92 quid, that could do. Well, it says n63, which I took to mean it would also do the s63, and it does, thankfully. That's what I used it for. The other place for this sort of full kit was Amazon, and it was 118 quid. And I just thought this looks okay. Plus, it's in a nice, a decent case actually, with foamy stuff. I'll show you. So it's not just blow moulded. There's a bit more going on. Now it took a bit of fathoming out for, hello fella, for how to use it. But there's no instructions, as there never is with these things, is there? Because they're sort of based on the factory special tools, aren't they? But first and foremost, it sits over 2 injectors, even if you're only pulling one. So you try them out, the spacing's different. This was the only one that had the correct spacing for me. Let's let this spider get on this way. Yeah, so as you can tell, that's one I've used. A couple of things about it. So you can see that these bars here, like, one's offset, isn't it? And also, what you might not be sure about when you're looking at it, which I wasn't, is which way up does it go? Because that obviously affects the space underneath, doesn't it? Yeah, and as you can see, I had it that way up. Now, for me then, the way it worked was, this was a spacer that sits under, on one side of the engine it sits under here, and on the other it sits under here. Right. Use that with this slightly longer of the set of bolts. Obviously, it really should have a washer. It's not great that, wait. See what I mean? I don't think I was doing anything wrong with what I've got here. That's the best I could do, but maybe next time I would put a washer on it just so this thing lasts a bit longer. Although it could be a milling machine project. Some people were whinging in the Amazon comments about them bending and stuff. I mean, you know, if it's that jammed, it's really your engine's fault. It shouldn't be that jammed. Mine came out pretty easily. This is a 10-year-old 63,000 mile M6. But yeah, if they're that stuck, you need one of those pneumatic things, which look pretty cool, by the way. I was tempted, but I'm glad I didn't get one in the end. Probably wouldn't have got number 8 out, because it's a massive thing. Anyway, let me just show you. So you also use the big bolt in the middle. So basically, you have to remove the fuel rail, obviously, and then you've got a threaded hole here. And this here, after you take the fuel rail, after you take the fuel rail out, you've got this sort of hold down piece here, this sort of T-shaped piece. So that centre bolt there, that comes out with it, that stud, and then that's where the big bolt goes, right? And you have to, I think on this side this injector it was that way, and on this one it was that way, just because the hole, you see where my little finger is there, this one was, you know, offset that little bit. It was either, yeah, it was that way. You can obviously, because you can see the mark holes. Yeah. So what we do is, sorry. Come on. So yeah, we use that, and you just have to get the bolt and this through first, and sort of hold it loosely held, because you don't want to be dropping this in your engine, baby, and it's aluminium, so you can't just use a magnetic pickup tool on it, which is a bit annoying, to be honest. But yeah, if you get this with the bolt, hold the bolt in and just sort of get that over, thread that a couple of turns, and then you know that's not going anywhere. So this is the clever bit, and this is where things can go wrong. But basically these are reverse threaded, I'm really struggling with one hand here, but sorry, 1 second. Let's get it started and then I'll put it back on camera. Okay, so these are reverse threaded. This is locked into this. However, there's a inside here is ball indent thingies that's locking this into that. But if you pull on this lever, it separates, right? Now, why is that important? Well, that's only important for when you're reinserting an injector, because this, as it threads in, it needs to pull this down. When you're removing an injector, none of that matters. This being locked doesn't matter. If you lose the insides and the balls, which you may well do, because I did, the whole thing fell apart, then you lose that ability anyway, and you can't use it for inserting, because as you wind this further down, it just pulls away from this bit. It doesn't pull this down with it. Okay, but that's just for putting an injector back in. For getting one out, this here threads onto the injector, and this obviously is moving down, so you kind of just do both together. You a little bit that way, a little bit that way, a little bit that way. So what you're doing is you're threading this onto the injector, but you're bringing this down at the same time. Or you can do the bolts later or something like that, and you can probably just, I guess ideally, if both of your injectors are fully inserted, right, you'd probably have this all the way down, right? They're both at the same height anyway, and then you just screw both sides on at the same time, and then you do all these bolts. But I found trying to hold this thing in underneath afterwards to be too much of a faff, so I just did what I just said there, where I threaded this down at the same time as I was getting this on, so it was like, it's like one backwards, one forwards, like that, yeah. And obviously make sure nothing binds up, right? And then you put the big bolt through the middle, so you've got this thing here to help, because it's going to be pulling on one side, right? And unfortunately you don't have one to put here when you're doing the left side head, just because of where that thing is in the valve cover. It's there, but anyway, you've got this hold down bolt here and this one here. You make sure there, because it's going to be pulling against them, and I guess it's going to be pushing down on that injector a little bit, which is not ideal, but that's how it works. And then these are threaded all the way down onto the injectors, and then the injector that you want out, it's reverse threaded, like I say. So you turn that clockwise. It's a 24mm. I used a pipe spanner, a flare nut spanner, whatever you call it, an open-ended, like a C shape, yeah. I guess any would have done. It was only 24mm I could find on hand, really. And I think ideally you keep that straight, otherwise your injector starts to turn, but it doesn't really matter that much, does it? You do that and it pulls it out. Now, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, so if you pull on this, or push, is it? Oh, there you go, yeah. If you push on this, these two will come apart. And I was thinking about this when I was in bed this morning, and I thought like there was a use for that, but no, I'm not sure. But yeah, look, you see how it comes apart, right? And I guess you could use that to pull your injector a little bit further by hand if you need to, but I don't know, I just wound it all the way. I kept these together, right? But what did happen, and I didn't realise how this was assembled at first, but on one of them there was a ping. I looked at it and I was like, whoa, and this was open. And so inside you've got this piece, you've got a spring, you've got two balls, and then there's a bolt that's specially machined to allow, that to happen. Yeah. So I don't know if you might think of it as an anvil or something. But it's a bolt, but then it's got a taper. It's got a thick bit with a taper so that it pushes those balls in and out as it comes up. Watch. Yeah. Now that all fell apart, and luckily I found everything except for that bolt, and it was on the under tray, and I just managed to fish it out in the end. I didn't need it because I'm only pulling out one injector at a time, so it wasn't essential. But the big worry is, what if these balls had ended up dropping in a cylinder? That'd be horrendous. So you've got to watch out for that. So I've disassembled both now, and I've Loctited, using medium Loctite, because the high strength Loctite you just can't remove without a load of heat. So I use medium, I've done it up quite tight. So the bolt in there, it's got a flat screw. But yeah, you just got to be aware of that really. But yeah, I found this, some bits I don't know what the hell they're for. It's a slide hammer, it looks like, for pulling some out. But yeah, I'm pleased with that tool. It's worked really well. Even though in hindsight I actually didn't need to change my injectors. I had a fuel pump problem, not an injector problem after all. But it's all learning, isn't it? Alright, cheers. See you later.